let us know.
Yeah. Good evening. It's Friday night. It's after 7 o'clock. But listen, like everybody else, we've been sitting there watching the World Cup draw, which I'd forgot was on, but never mind. You are tuned, as always, to the Friday night football pitch, although it's just a football pitch now, with myself, Cameron McDonald, Dennis Newell, and regular guest Hugh Toner. We will be talking about the World Cup draw. Obviously, it's the most important football event of the year, and it would be remiss of us not to talk about it. We'll also be looking at the fixtures coming up, and probably it's been a full week of fixtures up and down the country, both south and north of the border, so we'll have a wee look at that as well. As always, I'm going to ask you, go ahead, like, subscribe. It does help us out a lot. We would do it for you. Get your granny, your auntie, your budgie subscriber. One subscriber short of hitting the magic 60, just short of Dennis's age. And go on, let's be that 60th subscriber. As I say, Dennis, good evening to you. And good evening to you, Shug. How are we both?
Good evening, Cammy. Good evening, Hugh.
How are we, gents? All right?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to just hit a free screen on this. No, I'm not. Hang on. On you go, guys. I'm just going to... There we are. Hit the free screen so we can at least see the groups that we have so far. So Group A, Mexico, South Africa, Korea Republic, and the winner of a playoff. Group B's got a winner of a playoff. The only first group that's decided so far is Scotland's group. Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Shug, what's your thoughts?
Why do we need to be fearing that?
Yep.
I mean, we don't want to go there and say, oh no, Brazil, Morocco, we had them in the last World Cup 27 years ago, 28 years ago. So I don't think we've got any fear. Yeah, you can go and look at Brazil, but are Brazil the team that everybody thinks they are?
Nope.
I don't think so. And definitely not Morocco. So I think let them fear us, let them worry about us, what we're going to do.
Yeah. Dennis, we'd get Steve Clark in charge. We can beat anybody.
Yeah, I think we had that view as well when we had Ali McLeod.
Alan McLeod to that view.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you what, you've got a magnificent tie there in Brazil. That alone is a spectacle, right? And then you look beyond that and you say, who is going to beat us in that group? Well, for me, nobody. If we can't beat Morocco or Haiti, then we should chuck it anyway. So what better thing can you actually have? Two teams that I think are poorer than us, and we can then look at second spot. And you never know, if we can score 3 goals like we did in the last qualifying match there, Brazil could have their hands full. So, other than getting into the host pots or groups, I think that's as good as you could ask for. I really do. There is teams there that you could maybe say, without going through them all, the poorer teams, but Paraguay maybe a poor team in people's eyes, Ivory Coast even maybe not that much of a poor team. But you look at other teams there and you say to yourself, Cape Verde, you know what? The kind of teams are banana skins for us. So I'm quite happy that the teams that we've got have turned up in their own groups and played well. I've looked at some of Morocco's fixtures and they've had decent results. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But remember, they're in a different continent and they're playing. So you've got to say to yourself, well, would they really be tough competition? Congo, Bahrain, teams I can't even pronounce. There's countries there that don't exist in my head. Zambia. They beat, who else was it? I'm just looking here, Cammy, as we speak. Now, they've beaten good teams to the point of their area they're in. But when you look into European football, I think we're just a step ahead of that. So Morocco, to me, I don't fear for a minute. And certainly when you start to look at other groups that are maybe there, which we can maybe do, Haiti, no. I'm comfortable with that draw. I really am. And what we haven't found out, or I don't know yet, is where the games are being played. And I think that's crucial for our supporters to get to the games. But what a magnificent tie it would be. because I'm actually thinking about going. If I could actually go and watch Scotland and Brazil,
yeah,
that would be a good
anyone
one.
watching,
Put the screws down in the coffin, Cammy, you know.
Sorry,
there's a lot of folk watching there. Get involved in the chat.
are you
Don't be
watching
scared.
it?
Comments up. I'm just watching.
The village people are on the.
Village people. Dennis, they want to make you feel at home.
Well, he looks more like you than me, Cammy. That's the worrying part.
And the brownies. But as I say, anybody involved at all, get involved in the chat. You know, post your comments, post your thoughts. Obviously, England Scotland get the group of death. England get the group of, Christ knows what you would call England's group. You've got England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Some of the giants of world football there.
But it goes without saying that, Cammy, when you get easy draws, if we had the group, and we don't want to labour it too long, but the thing is, the group that England had, you couldn't have made it up to be more easy, right? So that then makes you a top seed, and it also makes you not getting in till the latter stages of the World Cup unless you absolutely blow up. So there they've got pole spot, Croatia, Panama, Ghana, right? You look at that and you say to yourself, what happened if they had maybe been drawn against Brazil or teams like that? Why? Because they have been that's wrong. They've been lucky enough to get teams that they could easily walk over within their group. I'll tell you what, I'm looking at England's group now. Croatia, as much as I've beaten them in the past, I think Croatia will be a handful for them. Panama and Ghana, no, it's not going to happen. So you've got to take it that England's going to qualify out that group, which is to be expected no matter what the permutations were coming out of that. So I think that they'll listen. I want to see England going far as well. So it's brilliant when they get to the latter stages and the fall flat. I'm really into that. So the further they go, the more tears will be shedding, the better I'll feel.
Yeah. Shug, any groups there, other than obviously Scotland's group, any groups there grab your interest? I mean, there's a few, 48 teams. Let's be honest, it's too many. You know, okay, Scotland are maybe there because it's only 48 sides. But when you look at some of the teams, you know, Germany's group, you've got Germany, you've got Curacao, I think, who are the lowest ranked team at the World Cup. You've got the Ivory Coast and you've got Ecuador. You know, other groups there, they're still to get decided, as we say, they've still got playoffs. There's not really any groups there which stand out as outstanding groups, is there?
Well, I'm just looking at it now. France, Senegal, and Norway.
Yeah.
And another playoff to come into there. I mean, that's not a bad group.
That's not a bad group, yeah.
I mean, but as you say, there's nothing there that really makes you want to say, I'm going to watch these games. You will watch them, but you're not going to want to get overexcited of going, who's really, I mean, Canada, Qatar, and Switzerland, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, give us some bit of excitement. So there's nothing really. Ivory Coast and Germany might be a good game, might be decent. Netherlands, did Japan not beat the Dutch not that long ago? I mean, even Belgium's group's pretty poor as well. There's not a lot there that's jumping out at me apart from the France, Senegal, and Norway. I quite like looking at that group. Apart from the rest, absolute no excitement there at all.
That's a good one. Yeah, France and Norway. Without a doubt, that's maybe the pick of the ties, I would think, to be honest.
Yeah, I think
I just look some of the South American teams, or these teams further away that you say to yourself they're unknown.
You don't see them,
and you don't really see them, so we can't really make judgment on it. But you look at Saudi Arabia, Uruguay, Cape Verde, and that's in Spain's group, and you go. Yeah. What we're looking at the matches for, I'm looking for tons of goals, right? So, it's like people go to motor racing and want to watch crashes. I want to see goals. Wow. And these games will throw it up. Will be goals. And they'll be good. The World Cup, we've all been waiting on this. And the big bonus is we're not having to support these other teams. Scotland's there, and I think it's absolutely out this world that I'm sitting there glued to this tonight. And I'm thinking, that's amazing. Scotland's involved in this. Whereas in the past, we've been sitting there going, okay, it's fine. Just take it as it comes. But here, we can watch it a wee bit closer. I'm not saying that we have to think too far ahead, but I think if the manager puts the right permutations together and does something a wee bit more than we've been doing, then I think we can get out of the group. I honestly believe that that's a great group to be in.
Yeah, I agree.
Somebody might say different, but the more I think about it, the better. Would you really want to be in England's group? Croatia, Panama, Ghana? No.
Well, you would have to be the replacement for Croatia, because obviously you can't
that's right.
Side
No, I would rather be looking at Brazil than playing England. It's not because most people will say we'll get stuffed. Well, we certainly would likely get beat, but there's no joy in that. I would rather get beat with a team like Brazil and be looking for that second spot.
Yeah, I hope you put your telly in live pause, Dennis, so you can go back and watch the Village People there. You know, you missed some really good
missed the classic there.
You know.
Right. I think it's for your benefit that we're on Cammy.
Yeah, there's the Scotland fixtures up now.
Is it?
Aye. June the 13th, June the 19th, and June the 24th.
And where are they?
Brazil in the last game. Well, it just says fixtures and times and venues to be decided. I think that comes tomorrow. I'm sure this says the times are
I honestly believe the venues are as crucial now as a draw for access of people getting there. I don't know. There's been some indications when they were speaking through the draw that they'll go here, they'll go there. I don't honestly know. There was nobody. I think at each pot, and I know you can't really do that because of the way the draw is done, but it would have been good to know the locations as they're doing the draw.
The one thing I did hear, and obviously again it's the typical English commentator, was that England's group is going to take place in Dallas and Toronto.
That's
how the hell does that one work out? You know what I mean?
They'll know for a fact where it's going.
Aye, but I'm saying it's going to be Dallas and Toronto. So how the hell do you work that out? You know, I mean, there's a couple there on the West Coast. I think the Argentina group's out of the West Coast. That's San Francisco, Kansas City, and things like that. You know, but how you get something drawn as far apart as either part of the group's going to be Dallas, part of the group's going to be Toronto.
Aye.
You know, completely opposite ends of North America there. You know, obviously one in Canada, one in the southern parts of obviously Texas. You know, I mean that just smacks a lack of organisation and everything else. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Dennis. It's going to be vital to know where these ties are being played in terms, obviously, so you can get flights booked or whatever else. You know, finding how you can manage to get to the States reasonably cheaply, where you need to fly to Scotland to be able to get and saying that, but some of the teams that are going there, you know, you're going to really struggle to be able to find a cheap flight from somewhere else.
I won't get it cheap at all now, won't you know?
No, but that's what I'm saying. You need to go to Scotland.
Fly to Dublin. That's an option. I mean, most people will think that way, but at the same time, it's potentially a cheaper option.
Fly Iceland.
Yeah, well, there is that option as well. Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to have to go somewhere else because the flights to Scotland are going to be financially debilitating. You know, you ain't going to make them. As I say, I know obviously when I went to Washington, it was via Dublin, but that was purely and simply just to beat customs and things like that, or to obviously circumvent the customs. You know, you've got the border between the Southern Ireland and the States, so you that makes it easier getting into the States that way. You know,
so you're doing customs at Dublin, basically.
Yeah, that's it exactly. You know, so
we thought
that again. Every man and his dog will be thinking that exact ploy.
I know.
And I think the biggest problem I've got is know that I'm not willing to spend the money. I'm not willing to get ripped off, and that's what my mindset is.
Yeah, indeed.
So we just need to wait and see, especially if the actual entrance into the games and it's been exploited, and they're not looking after the supporters, because there is a lot of people now from corporate ends seem to suck the life out of the working man for getting into matches. And if that starts to happen, you just need to look at how long it took them to make that draw there. And there's a lot of fat cats will be whining and dining on the back of that. So you say to yourself, has it now just become, what would you say, we feed their habit and they milk it dry? And that's when I actually say to myself, well, I'm not going to participate in that. So without being too much doom and gloom, let's make the prices reasonable. I'm glad Ryanair don't go all the way to the States, or they'd be charging you to go to the toilet on the wing. So there is that element, and we'll just need to wait to see what it costs.
Well, apparently it's going to be $100 a ticket.
That's not a bad price.
Yeah, that's okay. But somebody was saying it was 400 at the start of last week, but they were questioning it at 400. So we'll just need to wait and see. It's all up in the air. Scotland are lined up in Mexico. That'll be a good shout.
That's it, exactly. I mean, let's be
much further away.
There's a lot of the games that you ain't going to sell to the American public. You know, you ain't going to sell them Haiti against.
No.
You know, it's not going to be, or Haiti against Morocco, you know, just to take Scotland's group. They're not going to sell. So they're going to be $20-30 a ticket. You know,
they'll look at the Club World Cup. I was in New York when the final was on.
Yeah.
And even before the final, when they're leading up to it, you've probably seen it on television. There was 13,000 in a 90,000 seater stadium. 13,000 fans. They were charging them $80. And on the day, they were selling for $10 to get people on seats. And that's
this is going to be a major problem, I think, with the fact that they've expanded the number of teams that are participating in this. Because you've just mentioned Haiti, and we're not going to rattle on their gums about too many of the other teams, but they're not going to have a good travelling support. And it's diluted the tournament for me, because I had a quick scour through the teams that are actually in the groups. And there's at least 13 or 14 that I would think are not really going to bring much to the party. And that's because we have such a large number qualified for this now. So, you know, I think they could end up with a banana skin here. I mean, the stadiums are already in place, so it's not like Qatar where they were building them and you know, there was a lot of investment went in there. So it's not going to cost America much in relation to lost ticket revenue. But for a spectacle of a sport, I've seen some games, and when there's no atmosphere, especially in a World Cup, it really brings it right down to a poor level. I mean, you just need to watch women's football. And if there's a stadium where it's full, no matter how poor the quality in the park is, there's a good atmosphere in it. And that can be the same applying to the lesser teams in the World Cup.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be the thing. I think you're going to have, as we say, a lot of stadiums there which aren't going to be fully attended. And it's not necessarily because the teams don't bring a big travelling support. It's you're trying to sell it to a general public there who soccer isn't their first sport. You know, that you've got the American football, you've got obviously basketball, baseball. I think the baseball season will just be getting ready to start in June time, you know, when the World Cup's just starting. American football's another 2 months down the road from the start of the tournament, but obviously by the time it gets to finish, you'll not be far away from that starting. I don't think this is something that's going to sell massively to a lot of the American public, you know. But Dennis, you're talking about women's football. A lot of Americans still view soccer as a female game. You know, they don't necessarily look at it as a game for guys. You know, it's a lot of the colleges as a game for women. That's why the American women do so well in their World Cups, you know. So I think to try and sell, they obviously did this, you mentioned earlier, Shug, the Club World Cup, you know, they did that. That was a preamble, if you like, to the World Cup next season, you know. So I think when it comes to it, there's going to be a lot of empty stadiums or half-empty stadiums there. That might help you get a ticket, but you've got to get there first of all, Shug.
Aye, that's the main thing, travelling. I mean, talk to somebody, my pal who's in the Tartan Army, who goes everywhere. They're based themselves in Brooklyn.
Aye.
And they've booked up accommodation already. They did say it was a little bit more expensive than what they anticipated, but they're quite willing to pay it. So away they are, their way, staying in Brooklyn.
Yeah. So, and again, that gives you access to everywhere. You know, if you're looking at getting into, it's not just the East Coast. You know, you're going to get up and down. You're going to get across country. You know, whatever the games are going to be. You know.
I mean, you've got 3 airports in New York, so
yeah.
So access to flights all through the country, up and down the country.
It's probably the cleverest place to base yourself. And I mean, certainly you hope Scotland's not going to be any further than maybe the Midwest or something like that. You don't want a West Coast. If you can hope, I was going to say if you can avoid it, but you know what I mean? You don't want to be out in that West Coast. You'd far rather be East Coast in terms, obviously, for us at home.
Aye.
Watching the games as well, I know, again, if you're watching the sport, I prefer to watch. I'm far prefer the 1 p.m. US kickoffs, than the 4 p.m. West Coast stuff. It's definitely much, much better for us back here to watch. But it is what it is. It's just going to be, time zones are going to be lousy for us as spectators back home. Once you're there, it doesn't really matter. But again, you don't want to be travelling cross country from the east to the west if you can avoid it. That's like going from Dublin to the States again, Dennis.
Yeah, but I think as well though, American football is quite well supported because you can have as many as 40,000 there at a game. Others are averaging maybe 20,000. So there is I think the size of the nation doesn't give it the, what would you say, the support that it maybe should have. But when you look at UK or even Europe, I think, their average game is maybe 20,000, something like that. That's not a bad shout. Now, if some of them are really want to go to matches, then, it's going to help.
Yeah, but Dennis, that depends on who's playing. The MLS is massively well supported. Yes, Miami, because of Messi, because of obviously the ex-Barcelona players and things like that, and because it's David Beckham's team. Miami are well supported, and you get obviously a big travelling support going to watch Miami. But if you're looking at a game of Salt Lake, Real Salt Lake against Sporting Kansas City, there ain't necessarily a massive support at that game. Toronto, Montreal, they don't necessarily carry a big support. FC Dallas, the Chicago Fire. These are sides who, I mean, you take Chicago. Chicago's got ice hockey teams. They've got an American football team. They've got obviously a basketball team as well. You've got 3 or 4 sports they're competing with that soccer's got to compete with. And it's very, very difficult to get into that, to break that monopoly, that these sports have. And I think that's something that, as I say, FC Dallas, Chicago Fire, all these sides struggle to compete against.
But if we look back to the days of when George Best and people like that went over to the States, the latter stages of their careers, etc., has it really, and that's a little bit different from what we started talking about, but is American football lifted up to the level that you would have expected it after, 30 years, maybe longer, maybe 35 years? I don't think it's got the same profile, but I think on the back of that, that's because they have got so many well-established sports.
Yeah,
like how many people would be coming from America to go and watch Tottenham, Arsenal, or even further north to the Old Firm? How many Americans would be doing that the way you go to America to watch American football? So I think I don't think it's maybe reached the heights it should have. Is that because they were starting from scratch and it's about like the way women's football is, and it's maybe certainly wouldn't have been publicised the way women's football has over here in the last 5-6 years, maybe longer. That wouldn't have been launched the same way in America when George Best and these people went over there. I mean, you never hear of Messi now, really, doing the level he's at, because it's the other side the Atlantic. But at the same time, you would say to yourself, you'd expect to see a wee bit more of it if it was really top-class matches. And that's maybe why we're not seeing it.
I mean, Messi is the biggest profile there. You know, as I say, Miami, they've reached the latter stages of the league stroke cup competition, which obviously they do well in the league, and it's a typical American thing. They then go into a knockout competition to try and be the league winners, if you like. Miami did well in that. You had sides like Nashville, as I say, you had other sides as well, who, as I say, at the moment they escape me. But I mean, I know a couple of my mates from the States, they go and watch soccer, you know, so they've been to watch like said DC United and things like that. Again, obviously it's the local side, you know, so they go to watch that. I think you've got sides across the country, Shuck, but it just doesn't have the profile that it should have, I don't think, you know. And as I say, I think it's going to be a difficult sell to sell some of these games of minor nations, Hugh.
The thing what you're trying to do, you hit, both of you have hit on it. It's taken since you had Pele there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the world's best footballer. Then had George Best as well over, and a few others who we could over. Beckenbauer went there, right? Yeah. So you go and look at those three players. You would go and watch them every single day of the week. Well, I would. We would.
Yeah.
But I think you're trying to change a nation's mindset. They're used to their sports. They don't see that as their sport. I think that's the major thing. And when the kids come up, when you grow up, you've got a child, you take your son along. You're not going to take him to football. You take him, or soccer. You take him American football. You're going to take him ice hockey. You're going to take him baseball. Basketball. That's where you're going. Where, because my dad took me there, I'm going to take you there. And as Dennis rightly says, it's when was Best and Pele there? The 70s.
Late 70s.
Late 60s.
Late 60s. So you're looking at 50 odd years where you've not changed their mindset. Yeah. You'll never change it.
Well, the thing is, again, look at this and say, well, it contradicts the way we're going with this, because if you look at Qatar, which was the last World Cup, football was alien to them. Yet that nation decided to put the game, the matches there. I don't know whether that's went forward since. I bet there's a ton of stadiums over there that are definitely no filled to capacity, because we know that the likes of players have went over there to Saudi, but I don't know how the Qatar performances have been as far as crowds are concerned now. So maybe it's a different way to be looking at this, because we now have the situation where the draws are made. And I'll tell you what, the tickets will be so hard to get against Brazil. That'll be probably the biggest sellout until the latter stages. There's no question of doubt about it. So it'll be good. I'm delighted with it. Absolutely delighted.
Yeah. As I say, hopefully I'm proved wrong, but as I say, I think there'll be a lot of games there with not a great deal of fans in the ground, you know. So some of the smaller, I'm not sure exactly some of the stadiums that are there. What I do know is I know there's nothing held at a Northwest Stadium, that's for sure, you know. So, I mean, you've got the cap and you don't have a game, which is...
Would you have picked a group, right? There's still a fourth slot, but we'll forget who was in pot 3 or whatever. If we had the home nations, just looking at this now, would we have been happier playing Mexico with South Africa and South Korea in it, which wouldn't have really been the true permutation, but that's the other two teams in that group? No, there's nothing really attractive there. Then you've got Canada, Qatar, Switzerland, add Scotland in there. Anything jump out at you there? No, particularly. Nope. Then you look at our group and you go, wow, Brazil. So a question of doubt, never mind the other two. Brazil speaks volumes.
It's only Brazil.
That's right, but that's what you're looking for, though, because if you're going to progress, at least make sure that you've made a good job of it with the two lesser teams, right? Doesn't matter. But when I looked at the first couple of Group A and B, you then think and look to yourself, well, you know what? You've still got a shift to get out of them, but at the same time, were the glamorous ties? No, I don't think so. United States, Australia, Paraguay, no, nothing there. Then again, you look at it and go, well, I don't know about the rest of the groups. Germany, Ivory Coast, Ecuador, and Caracas. I don't know. There's groups there I just would never have been too enthused about being in, simply because there's no attractiveness there.
But that's groups without a major nation that you've got to turn around and say, I fancy us to top the group.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the thing, you know, it's a couple of these groups that you've mentioned. Maybe not so much the Mexico group, because I think Mexico, you don't know what Mexico you're going to get. Mexico could reach the semi-finals, or they could go out in the first round.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I think half the Mexicans have landed in Donald Trump's backyard anyway, so they might be weak enough.
They're all getting shipped back. That's the thing. You know, they're all ended up getting shipped back, or else they're going to play for the States.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. What way would you rather have it? A group where you're almost guaranteed to get out of, or one that's a wee bit of a couple of sticky games? And I think obviously the group that we're in, again, Morocco, depending on which Morocco you get, and again, we're all looking forward. It's going to be, we're still talking 6 to 7 months away, but depends what Morocco you're getting. But you're no guarantee you're getting out that group. I think I'd far rather be in a piss easy group where you turn around and say, we're in with a shout of getting to the next round, because that's what it is all about for us, Dennis. We need to try and get out of the group once.
I think, though, Cammy, when we've been that long since we got there, I think we've arrived, and it's maybe a Scottish thing. But the bottom line is, how far are we going to progress in this? And that's my concern. We have progressed to the height that we didn't expect to get to. We're there, right? You've got two teams that are of lesser quality than us, right? And you've got one of the most glamour ties in world football. What more? How else would you mix that up? Because you're always going to have one of them, with the exception of Canada, Mexico, and Americans. We're all still going to be tough, as you said. What Mexican team is going to turn up? America in their own patch will still be difficult. And Canada, a wee bit unknown, but the bottom line is they'll still be competitive. Now, you might assume, which I would have thought, we get into one of the groups, fine. We're a good chance of maybe winning it. But I'd still take second place against Brazil and see where it takes us.
So with that, but as I say, a difficult game.
But you have to think what Scotland team are going to show up.
No, I know. So and that's what scares me as well.
We all done that for the Euros as well. And look what happened with Germany.
Yeah,
well, just sat back and get absolutely battered.
But surely that's the reason why I'm saying at least we've got a glamour tie in Brazil. If we don't progress, we can come back and say, well, by the way, what I'm doing that was with Mexico. I'd rather get a doing if it's going to be that against Brazil and take the other two teams as they come.
Aye. I think we'll beat the other two teams.
Yeah, I think so as well, Hugh. I really do. Yeah.
And I just think Brazil, I think the way the fixtures were, the Brazil game's the last game. Mm-hmm. What a final game to get to think you could top the group. That's where you've got to look at it.
Again, it will be of interest as to where the fixtures are being played. I think that I'm not saying that will create a result, but it will create an atmosphere, and that's important. So it would be nice to be able to get to somewhere that's not going to be, well, Mexico as an example, because it's not a cheap excursion if the supporters are going there.
No, you're watching your back as well, depending where you are as too. But hey. Anyway, enough of the World Cup. I think that's us. As you say, we're there. We've got at least one glamour tie.
Yeah.
And the other two sides will be fearing us as much as we can be a little concerned about these two, because I say Haiti's very much an unknown. Morocco, we played them once in the World Cup and they turned us over big style. So yeah, we can only see how we progress. But as I say, 6-7 months time, we will know how we're getting on. But as I say, there'll be a lot more chat about it in the weeks to come. Next week's guest, I'm quite sure she'll want to talk World Cup as well. I know she'll want to talk Celtic, but we'll talk about that one later on. Don't look at me in that tone of voice, Dennis. But looking back at games this week, let's say get a wee discussion there. Shug, your own mother will come through to Falkirk. Falkirk Stadium was busy as always. Whenever any sides coming to visit, and nothing each draw, probably a fair result in the end.
Not according to Colin. Well, Colin thinks it was. I thought we were a better team, especially in the second half. But you'll take a draw there because Falkirk came at us. The first 20 minutes, Falkirk came at us. Again, we made another 4 changes, and not the biggest worry at the minute. The biggest thing we took out was Elliot Watt came out the team because he's played every single game so far, and fans are moaning online. Why is Watt not playing? I'm thinking, wait a minute, December's an absolute busy month. You can't play Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday. You can't do it. So to bring him out to give him a rest or so probably was the right thing to do. But yeah, I would probably say a draw was a fair result. You really wanted the 3 points, but hey, I'm quite happy to take a draw this year We didn't play well in the first 20 minutes or so. We then started passing the ball about, getting settled back into the game again, just playing the usual self. I have said, I think Stan will score goals, but we need an out-and-out striker. We just need somebody to go and put the ball down, bang, goal, and that's when we get our possession is going to pay off for us. But yeah, it was a good game. Good game. I like Falkirk. I don't have an issue with Falkirk because I say to Colin, at home you'll be brilliant. You'll get a lot of points home. You need to pick up points away from which you have done so far, and I can't see them changing. So
yeah, I mean their form this in the lead up to that has been decent. Obviously, drawing with drawing with Rangers, beating Dundee United. They've definitely had decent form. They're sitting well in the table as well, Dennis. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to bring it up now.
They're sitting third at this moment in time. Last half dozen games you can't fault, because when you look at it, they have gone through matches. When you take Motherwell against Kilmarnock, great result, didn't they? 3-1. Then they go to Hibs, at home to Hibs, 2-0. Can't knock that. Then you're looking at what you'd expect was maybe one of the major games of the year, and it turned out no goals. Other than that, I'm sure it was perfect for both clubs, because Hearts would have been not looking forward to going to that on the run that Motherwell was having. So
not one shot on target they had there.
Sorry?
Hearts did not have one shot on target.
No. But again, you look at that and you say to yourself, has the bubble burst with Hearts? I don't think so. I just think, like everybody, you get a lean spell, and Hearts have got that. So it's maybe the fact that Motherwell have been really pushing forward and have done exceptionally well. I mean, seriously, out of the last half dozen games, 2 draws and 4 victories. That's incredible. And there was a wee period as well before that. I thought Motherwell had slightly gone off the boil just before you had come on the last time, Hugh. And I thought, maybe they've dipped a little bit. But I'll tell you what, they've come back big guns now. So, Motherwell's a right good shout now to be staying there. But you've got Rangers, obviously, in the same points. Hibs just slightly below. So you look at that almost as a 6-pointer against Hibs when you beat them 2-0, because they're sitting just 2 points behind you.
On that night against Hibs on the Tuesday night, I know Hibs went down to 10 men, but even prior to them going down to 10 men, that we told absolutely. Again, Hibs done nothing that night. Is
that the game where Hanley was sent off?
Hanley was sent off. I know they've been down to 10 men, but even prior to that, we were over them. And the stats, I know stats obviously can paint a different picture, but 797 passes, 94% accuracy of passes. It's like, you've got to look at it and think, if a team like Arsenal, Barcelona, Man United, Man City come up with that, people will be ranting raving. But I spoke to a couple of Hibs fans on the way back to when we're going back to the car, and they says, we could have played with 12 men tonight, we've never get near you. So that's even there recognising, saying we were nowhere near it. And don't get me wrong, Hibs were trying to push, but they just couldn't get beyond us. We just shut them down and we moved the ball again. So the 2 big games against the Edinburgh clubs was good. We've got Rangers and Celtic coming up soon as well, so they'll be big fixtures as well.
Well, when you were on with Graham the last time, we were all saying how much everybody was looking forward to the fixture, and I think, without taking anything away from it, you've both got a point out of it, which probably, in a true light of day, was a good result for both of you. With me sitting on the fence with no siding with either of you, but I think it was a good outcome. Let's put it that way, from a neutral like me looking at it. And Motherwell's going great. So is Hearts. I know they've just dipped slightly, but, they're still there. So we'll just need to wait and see what the fourth... Between now and the end of the year, there's massive games on there. There really is.
Definitely.
And it can swing quite a lot. You just need to look at Saturday's fixtures. And I'll run through them, Cammy, if you're all right, which is Dundee have got Aberdeen. Hibs have got Falkirk. Massive game again. Livingston are not going to lie down to Motherwell, who are at home, and St Mirren, Dundee United, and Kilmarnock against Rangers. And then you've got, on the Sunday, Celtic have got Hearts, and that's obviously the biggie for the weekend. But there is the games I've mentioned. Hibs and Falkirk, that again is top half of the league that we're talking about here. So, yeah, I think there's good fixtures coming up, certainly between now. I think there'll be a few changes personally at the top half of this league. before the end of the year because there's so many fixtures coming up. I don't know how many Motherwell's actually got between now and the end of the year. Do you know?
Fixtures?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2,
6.
4.
Yeah.
No, 5. 5 including Saturday. We've got Livy. Then we're away to Dundee United the following week. At home to Dundee. Away to Rangers. At home to Celtic. And that's on the 30th of December. We're home to Celtic. Then 3 days prior to that, we're away to Ibrox.
Yeah.
On a Saturday. So Tuesday night's the last game, 30th of December. So we've got 5 games before the end of the year. That's the reason why I don't mind. But 5 changes for the Hibs game. And we brought in players who's not the first team starts, but they come in and just... The young boy Priestman, Oscar Priestman came in, and he's only been getting 10, 15 minutes a game. And he's been classed as a project player, a development player. And he totally ran the show. So you've got to say to young boy, well done for coming on and doing that in your first game and first start. So you can understand why he's obviously making changes all the time.
Yeah. You've got to be done. You've got to freshen it up. You just can't sit there. Yeah.
It's definitely good that you've got the depth of squad that you can make these changes.
Before the squad.
Sorry, mate.
Before that, absolutely, you're looking at bench going, who are you bringing on? A 16-year-old boy? It's just like, what are you going to do to a 16-year-old boy bring on? He gets absolutely hammered, annihilated, and his confidence goes right down. What are you doing? You're not being fair with the player, basically, are you?
Yeah.
Just bring them on a game and things like that. So.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention on the back of the Premier League is, and I don't know if anybody's noticed it, it's just me, how bad are the refereeing decisions for handball in the last couple of weeks? Without pulling out any incidents, there is some being absolutely shocking and no worse than Rangers during the week. I mean, the boy has a kick at it, and I'll say it all day long. That was never a penalty, unless you're in VAR in a studio looking to pick fault with the game. And I just can't get my head round why VAR is sticking their nose into everything that they think is good for the game. We need to be more flexible in this, especially with handballs as well, because I don't know the difference now between a handball and it not being a penalty. I honestly don't, because I sit and I look at it and I go, well, that's no deliberate, but it's at his arm, and they go, no penalty. And then the next minute, identical, it is a penalty. And I just can't get my head around it. We had bad referees before, and their job is very difficult, and I keep repeating that. But I'd rather have human error than guys that are sitting in the studio hell-bent and destroying our game to the fact that supporters are thinking, great, next minute, VAR. Guys in the studio, I don't know if they're on an ego trip, but they just don't know the game. Honestly, I can rant all day about this, but the bottom line is we're needing to shake that up big time because it's killing the game. They're there to help the game. They're not helping it. They're destroying it.
As Av says, they're looking for an excuse to chop a goal off.
Aye, it's bad. It's poor. And they'll go back for 2-3 minutes before it to see if there's anything they can go, oh, wait a minute, I've spotted something. Brownie points, bang, foul, no goal. Oh, wait a minute, what about the guys that have paid to get into the ground who are more than happy to accept that as a goal? And I don't know where it's going to go. It just is. It's people that can't play football getting too much involved in football. That's the problem you've got.
Wait until the World Cup. If this comes in a bit, they're going to be looking at top kicks and all that now. You think? No.
I would just wish that all they do is goal line technology and let referees referee the game. And you'll get flaws, you'll get errors, but it's human error. And the day that I wished that we had VAR is just gone to the extremes now that it's ruining the game for me. Aye. It really is. Because you're sitting there going, is that a goal? You're looking for along the line and you're looking at different things. What's going to happen? The linesmen don't seem to really participate now, other than 5 minutes later waiting on somebody breaking somebody's leg before they give offside.
I've always said offside should be called for offside because you might run through usage, you might slide in, get a tackle, bad injury there's a leg break. Oh, by the way, it was offside there. Why not call it when it's off? There's a couple of things that annoy me is the offside. Just make it go back to the basic rule. You're offside, flag up, end of. That's your job. lineup.
But Hugh, knowing this will change. When somebody gets their leg broken,
yeah,
then they'll visit it. They'll visit it and go, oh, I think maybe we should put the flag up. I'm sorry, but you are incompetent that are making these rules up to satisfy whoever. It's no benefit in the game. I don't know anyone who has actually said that that's a good ruling. You keep the flag down until it gets played further on. Not acceptable. And that my fear is somebody will get a right bad one because players are playing it out and somebody will come launching in at a tackle and the bottom line is they'll get a bad one.
Huh?
And then who's going to take the blame for that when it should have been stopped earlier?
Yeah. That rule I would change to tonight if I could. Mm-hmm. Take free kicks and throw-ins where they went out. Never mind 25 yards up a line and keep on walking, kid, on your take and then walk again. It frustrates me. I mean, you get a free kick out and next to the corner flag and suddenly it's out. The goalkeeper's taking it, but he's in his 18-yard box. You're like, where are you going with this?
There's an extreme. Anyway, yeah. So that was just my point on VAR because I've noticed it a wee bit more prominent in the last 2 weeks. That it's been really, really poor. And I don't know that you look at Livingston get done out of a draw and a couple of weeks ago, and I think to myself, that's costly. That can cost managers their job with a bad decision. And it was a bad decision, the Rangers-Livingston game. Mm-hmm. And they got a penalty. And you know, I don't believe for a minute. And people will say, no, you're kidding yourself on. It was a penalty last week. To me, it wasn't a penalty. You know, two people clashing together, if anything. And the other thing as well is, see when the guy's actually knocked the ball away from the Rangers defender, he's never getting on that with his touch. It's that poor. So I then say to myself, that's okay if you've been brought down and the ball's just close to you, maybe get a finish. The ball's broke into the box. He's not even involved in play after he plays it. So, no. Poor. Very poor. Anyway, half a rant, Cammy. Just half a rant.
Well, just half the rant. Just half of it. Other results during the week there, Dennis. Cracking game at Pittodrie, 3-each Aberdeen St Mirren.
Very good.
Rangers, you've touched on the dubious penalty decision, but it finished 2-each at Tannadice. Mm-hmm. Hearts 1 come on at 1. Hearts mini slump continues. Still a goal from Maeda early doors, beat Dundee 0-0. And as we say, Falkirk and Motherwell finished nothing each. Yeah. Aberdeen, the form started to pick up. They're the only side so far this season to beat Hearts in the league. They're certainly well off that bottom spot. We did talk about it a number of weeks ago that they really had to turn things around. They hadn't scored in obviously the first 5 or 6 league games. That started to turn, and they're pushing now towards the top 6, Dennis.
Yeah, I think it's great, and we need a good Aberdeen. There's absolutely no question of doubt about it. And the more we can see of them competing the way they were doing during the week, the better. I watched the game, and I didn't think it was too bad. You know, considering the results they've actually had, but they're creeping up the league. They're in the 7th spot. You know, they were really struggling there for a month. Now, if you look at the results, out the last 5, they've drawn 2 and they've won 3. I think that's good. So there's inroads. It would have been very easy for Aberdeen to turn around and say, right, enough's enough with the manager. You won the Scottish Cup. We'll give you to the end of October, say, and there's been no really any improvement because then it picked up. And that's the good thing about it, because we say on here quite a lot, it's easy option is just to give the manager the sack, when in actual fact the club need to look a bit deeper. And we know supporters are really high in demand for what they want nowadays, and that creates a monster. But if you look at it, Aberdeen, I don't know, I think they'll end up in the top 6. I really do. There's other teams in there, maybe not just maybe up to it. I'm not saying Motherwell's one of them, but there is other teams in there that I think might drop it, and Aberdeen could get a 6th spot. Only time will tell. But again, Cammy, just moving to something else there. I don't know what the new Celtic manager's about. I think this came under the radar a little bit. And I did speak to a Celtic supporter today and asked him what he thought about the appointment. And basically he said, we just need to give the guy a chance. Well, what more can you do, though? That's all you can do. But I just feel with him coming in, what can he bring in the transfer window in January? Because I find it very strange that you've got somebody here that's not really got a background in no Scottish football, but even the European zone. And I think Celtic are really needing quite a few replacements because they're not setting the hell on fire at all. And there's been money well spent in there, and some of them are not getting games, and it just proves how poor they are. So unless he's got a few up his sleeve, I think his task could be very, very difficult because he's not coming in at a good time. Definitely not. I mean, I don't think Martin O'Neill's really brought much to the party other than just come in, fill the jersey, so to speak, and move on. So they've maybe lost a bit of ground, Celtic, with the fact this guy took his time to come in.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, he's been a success, obviously, in the States. Columbus Crew, they've won the leagues. They won the Leagues Cup, which takes in sides from Mexico as well. So they've won that. They won the MLS Cup as well, So he's had a bit of success in the States. But Scottish football is a completely different kettle of fish. That said, we thought the same about Big Ange when we says Japanese, Australian, whatever footballs.
Right.
A different kettle of fish as well, So he's had a bit of success. He knows what it is like to win trophies. Obviously, the guy Rangers tried to bring in initially, Kevin Muscat, had won trophies in China. And if that's the extent now that Scottish clubs are looking at now, Shug, to get managers, obviously Motherwell have appointed a foreign manager as well. But I mean, if that's the extent that clubs are looking to get managers, how far has Scottish football in world perspective fallen if we're going to minor leagues in China and MLS in the States to try and recruit our bosses?
I think that the way the teams want to play now, like Motherwell has never played like that.
Yeah.
Probably we played well under Tommy McLean. Years after that, it was a wee bit of passing with McLeish and Harry Catman and all that. But if you go and look at Postecoglou, he was an Australian national manager. So he had a little bit of something behind him. But where this nonsense came from, nobody knows. Apparently Thierry Henry loves him. Absolutely adores the guy. Again, you can only try, but who would you bring in a Scottish manager who Celtic fans would be happy with? Rangers fans would be happy with. They wanted
that's the problem.
They wanted McInnes. McInnes says no. So
sure, that's the problem. It's almost like you're not going to get a Timex watch if you can get a Gucci.
Aye.
Only name. You're assuming it's a Ferrari scenario. You want a Ferrari, and there you are. You've been given maybe a Ford Escort or whatever you might call it. So, and the supporters don't want that. They want the luxury of saying it's somebody that's alien to them, and they don't really seem to care until a month or two down the line, and they go, "Wait a minute, this guy's no use."
Well,
they don't want somebody like Stephen Robinson.
They don't want Gary Hall. Rangers fans like, give the guy a break. He's come in. He's made a difference to your team, but it's still not his team. He's not going to. The whole saying you can't polish a turd. So if the players are crap, give the guy. You need to give the guy at least 18 months. Then you can say, "Wait a minute, right, that's fine." But
and I'll tell you what. If he can come in from America and bring maybe 2 or 3 players, even from America, because I think the boy Johnson knows him and he's more than happy and spoke well about him. So you're looking at, you say to yourself, if you can bring a few players in the window, even for the States, because I don't think it would be that hard to improve in some of the weaknesses that Celtic have got, I think right away that's a bonus. Because if he goes into Europe, there'll be bigger money, I think, required to get them in. Having said that, Trusty wasn't cheap, but at the same time, you look at it and you say there's got to be American talent there that he will know is worthwhile bringing into Celtic, and that's what I'm hoping that he brings to the party. Whether across the town, you've got the same thing happening there, bringing in people that have known for Sheffield Wednesday or somewhere else. Then you just need to wait and see. But there's got to be changes in the January window, and I think it's very crucial that they get maybe both teams, Celtic and Rangers, get maybe 3 players at least that would not be too hard to improve in what the standard is. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the miss the big centre had the other night there with Rangers. There's got to be players in that youth team that are saying to themselves watching it, surely I'm better than that. And you just wonder whether at Ibrox there is anyone capable and maybe finishing that's going to get a better chance than the guy that you've spent £8 million for. He's in the 6-yard box. The ball is clear. There's no defender near him, and he headers it wide by about at least a yard to the near post. And I'm thinking,
nobody near the goals.
No, I think it was absolutely shocking. And then you have the big defender had chaos the week before. So there's got to be people around in Scotland, without scouring the world, that can at least be given a chance to prove that you don't need to be going spending big money. But both of the managers have really got to go and show that that's the boat's not going to sink with them on it, because there have been loyalty players that are not good enough.
Well, there was the thing that Barry Ferguson has come right out and says the first players he would have signed would have been Shankland on a free.
Yes.
Who will guarantee you goals in Scotland game, especially Rangers. The Rangers are going to get so much service. So he's going to score goals. He would then bring in Mulligan, who then went to Hibs. So there's another one. And he would have probably kept Tierney, he says. So you go look at those three players, and there's a massive difference to you.
Yeah. But that's strange, though, that Shankland never got the move to either Parkhead or Ibrox. And I think, is this again the scenario we're talking about, appointing managers from further afield? Is it that it's no glamorous enough? To me, Shankland is a certainty to have goals in him going to the Old Firm, the opportunities that are created. So I find that really disappointing that managers are not seen within that can be brought to the club and do a job. And that's a flaw, and that's a major flaw, because clubs are going out and spending £8 million on a centre forward that, as you rightly say, Hugh, they could have got Shankland for nothing.
Well, I know a number spoke about this last year as well, Dennis, in regards to Cyril Dessers.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, Dessers, 29 goals last year. Look at the strike force just now. They're not even scoring 5 between them.
But the chances are not the same either, because the whole team is depleted. So therefore, Dessers was probably getting 40 opportunities in the season. They're probably only creating maybe 20 chances in a season for this guy up front. So it's going to be limited. But the misses that he's doing, Dessers looks like a world-class player. And it's how bad it is to be signing players at that level.
Goals.
I know, but who in God's name actually sees that this guy's got the quality to come and play in the Scottish Premier League?
But the guy who do that isn't there anymore.
I know that, but I mean, we're talking about David. The Rangers need to do something about that, though, Cammy. This guy can't keep playing. He can't keep playing, and they've got to find a replacement. And all I'm saying is there's got to be better in youth development. And if you're a youth development player, you're going, do I really want to be at this club? Because I'm sitting looking at him, I'm doing quite well, and I'm not even getting a shout.
Not 100%.
There's my question, Dennis. Name me a Rangers player that's came from the academy in the last 10 years.
I have no idea, honestly. And that's a worrying part. That's why I brought it up, that there's got to be somebody there. Otherwise, what is the point of having it?
I think the last one that I can remember is Alan Hutton, and that's longer than 10 years ago.
That's 20 years.
He went down to Spurs, and he didn't want to go to Spurs. He came out in an interview and says, I didn't want to go to Spurs. I was told I was going because they were getting 9 million or something like that. You're going to Spurs.
Aye.
So, no matter what, Rangers wanted the money, you're gone. For Rangers having that big development academy, there's nothing coming out of it.
No.
Nothing.
No. Nothing making its way through. And as I say, we've said this before, you touched on it last week, Dennis. You know, that Rangers are just wanting to bring in foreign players. You know, they're just wanting to bring in, it's not even big names. You know, they're just wanting to throw money, trying to get a quick fix rather than develop. And the Shug, you spoke at length again about what's happening at Motherwell, the amount of quality youth players that are coming through, the fact that obviously Lennon Miller, you get a lot of money for him, who's a product of your youth squad, you know, your youth development. Rangers are getting this ass for elbow. You know, they're trying to bring in players who they're getting not so much even on the cheap, but I mean, they're spending money on them and they're hoping to bring them in and ship them out. But that's not going to happen because they're absolute shite. You know, the players that they're bringing in are garbage.
The ones they've had previous, who they brought in and hoped to sell them for big money, they kept them. Morelos, Kent, they kept them right to the end of the contract, and they didn't get any money for them. Surely the idea is keep them a year, 18 months. Yeah, they're at the peak of the game. Just punt them.
But to be honest with you, that's where Celtic were good at their business.
Yeah.
Celtic was very good at that. And they were able to identify, wait a minute, we get 20 million in here, 10 million. By the way, we'll put it under the mattress. We're not going to put it back out to buy players, so you can forget that. But the thing is, we're a business, which is wrong. But the bottom line is they were very good at that and still are. Unfortunately, the fans are the ones that have been starved of the quality for replacements, right? But again, the other thing I was looking at this as well is, when did we actually last see a manager from lower divisions actually got through the grades in Scottish football and end up at a Premier League team? I can't recall it. And I think it's shocking. It's a bit like youth development in the way that nothing seems to come up through the system. And all we're doing is throwing good money after bad because nobody's willing to sit down and take a chance because they all want to be bulletproof in this board of directors. You know, Stephen Robinson would have been good to bring in and give him a couple of years contract and see what he could have done after the catastrophe of the last 2 and a bit managers. 1, 2, two anyway. No, there's 3 actually. The last 3 managers before this one. He would have been good to slot in there and at least try it. And if you're sitting in a board of directors, you say, what have we got to lose? Well, I'll tell you what we've got to lose. Oh, our ego. And I'll tell you what, the supporters will be in our case for bringing somebody in that's Scottish that's been doing really well. He plays attractive football. Wait a minute, is that not what we're here to do? No, we need to get a foreign name in. Is he any good? I don't know. That's the way it goes. And it's wrong because the supporters are the people that are paying the money to come in and be entertained, and they're not. What it is just ticking boxes. He's done this and he's done that. The true reality is you've got to see what you're buying, right? And I don't think these guys are doing it properly from top to bottom. And that's back to your own point of view. What are they doing about youth development?
They're doing nothing. I have said that. I mean, my stepson and that, he's a Rangers fan. He's Nick Older says, yous have been fleeced for years because all they do is they do a share issue. Oh, we're going to raise some funds, and they do another share issue. So see the shares you initially bought, they're now depleted. They're getting down. Worth less and worth less and worth less. And you put in all this money. They must put in easily 15 million a year, easily.
Yeah. Anyway.
And nothing's coming back at them.
Right. So, in that point, Cammy, because I know we're running out of time, why don't we give the Scottish Cup a wee shout? Because you went to a game last week with Camelin. Was it Camelin you went to see?
Camelin Juniors against Edinburgh City. I went to see.
City. How was it?
I've seen better games of football, particularly down at that level. But as I say, it was a very, very cold afternoon. The football itself, first half and early parts of the second half wasn't very great. But Camelin went 1-up. Edinburgh came back into it with 7 or 8 minutes to go. They got an equaliser, and as they pushed for the winner, Camelin went up the other side and scored again, you know. So Camelin actually won the game 2-1. So a good cup shock. And it turned out to be a good afternoon, as I say. The last half hour of the game was just end to end. Edinburgh chasing the winner, Camelin trying to hit them in the break. And it was a decent game. And fair play to Camelin Juniors. They're into the next round of the Scottish Cup, and they could be facing one of the bigger teams.
No, they've got Elgin.
They've got Elgin.
They could have been.
They've got Elgin, which is not a bad tie for them, to be honest, at home.
Yeah.
So, you know, just a couple of other results that was very interesting. Auchinleck beating Dumbarton 4-0. And what a bonus that is, because they've now got Celtic. And what more can you say about that? It's a glamour tie. And I never thought I'd see... I never thought I would see a junior team, call it junior, a junior team playing the Old Firm in my lifetime. Because the pyramid system when I managed at junior level was never there. It was only... I think a vision in the future that was never, ever really going to get moving because of the dinosaurs that actually run the junior game. And I thought, this will never get forward. Here we are, at least, what's that now? 40 years further down the line. And you're seeing Auchinleck Talbot with a home tie against Celtic. Oh, what a brilliant day, honestly. And it's a wee bit like a lot of things have changed in football. We've seen the European ties where the leagues are actually brilliant now. We're seeing us in the World Cup. And we're seeing junior teams now playing against the Old Firm. So it's not all doom and gloom. The only thing I would say is what a shame for Hearts and Falkirk, because they're playing each other. So one of them's going to go after this round. But I'll tell you what, that'll be a right good cup tie. Other ones there, if I'm just running through a few, is Kilmarnock have got Dundee. Your team, Hugh, Ross County at home. Motherwell's at home. That's a good tie for you, I think.
I think so. Well, you always want a home tie, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And another team that's doing well and quietly doing about their business in the Championship is Partick Thistle. Sitting there up at the top of the league, they're through to the next round of the cup, and they've got Montrose. So, they're having a really, really successful season.
He got manager of the month again, didn't he?
I think he did, Mark Wilson. Yep.
2 months in a row now.
Yeah, definitely. But then last month he had 3 great results, and that's kept them back up. They slipped a little bit, but they're back up there now at the top of that table, which is brilliant. Rangers have got Annan Athletic in the cup, and again, Annan Athletic, small club. That's a great day for them. Yeah. So some good ties. Yep.
So Rangers have got Annan.
Yes.
Who put Clyde at.
Yeah. So there you are.
What you're actually going to say there, England have got Panama.
I can't believe you're comparing Annan to England.
Right. No, it's Panama he was comparing to me.
I think he was.
Anyway, that's some of the ties for the next round.
Your thing earlier on about the last Rangers player to come through for the youth development, Nathan Patterson, that went to Everton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, boy that broke COVID rules.
That's possibly the last one.
Yeah, went out to a party when COVID was
far apart was he from Alan Hutton.
Yeah, but I know. I mean, 2022 he went to Everton, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, and I'll tell you what, he looked as if he had a bright future, and then he got a bad injury, and I don't know where he is now, to be honest. But I'll tell you what,
he's still there.
Well, I think he's a right good talent and should maybe be in the Scotland squad, but I haven't seen him recently, so I don't know.
No.
I think he's in the Scotland squad because you've got Hickey there, you've got Max Johnston there. Mm-hmm. So
I think he's better than Hickey, though, personally.
Hickey's another one. He looked decent when he was at Hearts, came on and just hasn't pushed on. I don't think, has he really? Hasn't.
He's too much of that. He's too slight for me. I mean, you come up against a robust player, he just doesn't seem to have the physical presence that you require to be going and getting tore into somebody. Yeah, he's a nice footballer, and I've watched him a lot when he was at Hearts, but he's still that lightweight for me. But a good player, don't get me wrong, and he deserves to be in the Scotland team without any question of doubt.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I've just got a text message and I go and pick up the missus for the train station.
Yeah, we're later.
Thanks very much for stepping in, Shug. I really appreciate it as always, and I'll catch you Monday morning.
Right, okay, thanks, mate. Catch you later. All the best, Dennis.
See you later.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Righty ho. Right, you looked earlier on when I mentioned too, we've got next week, we have Nicole Fraser joining us, Tartan Army member, Celtic supporter as well. And the last time I saw her, we were both hammered in a pub in Madrid, but never mind. We shall get Nicole on, brighten up proceedings for a wee bit, as I say. She's a bit nervous about coming on, so maybe see about getting Graham or something like that on as well. But as I say, we're joined next week by Nicole Fraser making her football pitch debut. And as I say, she'll no doubt talk Scotland. She'll obviously talk Celtic as well. And she's female, so she can talk for quite a bit, You the go last week, Asylum Seekers. I'll go for the women this week.
Right, okay, all right.
Well, listen, at one time tonight, we had 20 folk in the chat. I don't know where you all disappeared to, but that was great. I think there obviously must have been folk watching the World Cup draw on YouTube, ended up seeing what else was on. And as I say, we had a few comments in the chat. No many I could understand. Boys from Myanmar and guys from Farrowfield as well, So hopefully a few of them have subscribed tonight and they're still there. But an interesting show tonight. As I say, if you haven't caught it, where have you been? Scotland have been drawn against Brazil, Morocco, and the Giants of Haiti in the World Cup in the US for next year for 2026. No idea yet where the ties are going to be held. but the last tie is going to be against Brazil. Hopefully that won't be Scotland's last tie of the World Cup, and indeed that they will. It will be the tie which sees them qualify and get through to the next round. As I say, you have been watching the football pitch, or the FITBA pitch, live on YouTube with myself, Cammy McDonald, as I say, Dennis Newell. Thanks very much to Shug Toner. Go ahead, as we say, like, subscribe, tell your pals, get your budget to subscribe. We would do it for you as well, as they say on other podcasts that I watch. Dennis, thanks very much as always. She'll catch up next week.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.